Today is September 23rd, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And we've been reading through the Gospel of John, and today we come to John chapter 12. And, in every Gospel, there's always like a turning point. And oftentimes, a big turning point is the triumphal entry, which Jesus kind of finishes his ministry and kind of comes into Jerusalem. And like for Matthew, that takes about a quarter of his book. Chapter 21 through 28, and for Mark it takes a little bit more, starting in chapter 11 through 16, so like 6 of 16 chapters. And we're going to see the triumphal entry here right in the middle of the Gospel of John. So when his public ministry sort of ends, and then he's going to have a private ministry with his disciples. So that's happening here in chapter 12. Lots of things sort of scattered in chapter 12. So the other chapters in the Gospel of John have been sometimes even one event, like when we saw like yesterday in John chapter 11. With Lazarus, just one event, the whole chapter. This chapter is going to have several different things. Mary's going to anoint the feet of Jesus, and then there's going to be a plot to kill Lazarus, and a triumphal entry, and Greeks are going to seek Jesus, and so just a lot going on. But the triumphal entry is kind of the big event.
So in the illustration, the picture about the number 12, there's for the one, it's Jesus standing up, and then for the two, it's a woman bending over and washing his feet. And then in the background, there's a palm tree.
Which signifies the triumphal entry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's read just one chapter today, John chapter 12. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there, and Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief, and having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone, so that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For the poor you always have with you, but you do not always have me."
Verse 9. When the large crowd of the Jews learned that Jesus was there, they came, not only on account of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus.
Yeah, I talked about this yesterday, but it was an astonishing thing. This man was raised from the dead, and they wanted to kill him. Like, that's acknowledgement that he was raised from the dead because he was leading people to believe in Jesus.
Right.
How hard were their hearts? The next day, the large crowd that had come to the feast heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem. So they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, crying out, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." And Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, just as is written, "Fear not, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt." His disciples did not understand these things at first, but when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered that these things had been written about him, and that they had been done to him.
There's another one of those glimpses that John gives.
Yep, because he's writing as a
future
historian after the fact. The crowd that had been with him when he called Lazarus out of the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to bear witness. The reason why the crowd went to meet him was that they heard that he'd done the sign. So the Pharisees said to one another, "You see that you are gaining nothing. Look, the world has gone after him."
Now, among those who went up to worship at the feast were some Greeks. So these came to Philip, who was in Bethsaida in Galilee, and asked him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. And Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." So often he has said, "My hour has not come."
Yep.
And now he says, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit."
Charlie Kirk's memorial service was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone, watching a football game, and someone came and just mentioned this verse, John 12:24, was mentioned and made it a big impact upon her, just about the falling asleep, the dying of Charlie Kirk. But if it dies, it'll bear much fruit, and trusting that just his death will bear much fruit.
Well, it seems there's a sense where he was gaining such a following
Yeah.
that someone wanted to get rid of him and stop him, just like the Jews. Verse 25. Whoever loves his life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. If anyone serves me, he must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him.
Now is my soul troubled. And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this purpose I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd there stood there and heard it, and said that it had thundered. Others said, an angel has spoken to him. Such is the unbelief of people. Well, it just thundered. It wasn't God's voice. Jesus answered, this voice has come for your sake, not mine. Now is the judgment in this world, when the ruler of this world be cast out, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to show by what death he was going to die. So the crowd answered him, we have heard from the law that the Christ remains forever. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? So Jesus said to them, the light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light.
So, something that I've written in my Bible that helps me just remember this passage is answer the phone while it's ringing.
Yep.
So, anyway.
The sermon illustration.
Right. Okay, middle of verse 36. When Jesus had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him. So that the word spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Lord, who has believed what he heard from us? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?
It comes from Isaiah 53.
Therefore, they could not believe. For again, Isaiah said, in Isaiah
6, yes.
He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them.
And that's a passage spoken after Isaiah sees the great glory and vision of the Lord. And after that comes this thing about you go speak to them and they won't hear. Render their hearts dull and their eyes dim. It's often quoted. It's amazingly how often this is quoted. It's quoted in the parables of the kingdom, Matthew 13, Mark 4, and Luke 8. Probably. And it's also at the end of Acts, in Acts 28, when Paul is basically exhorting and rebuking the Jews who were listening but not believing the gospel about Jesus, what he was telling them.
And it's a hard concept.
It is.
Like from Isaiah 6, just that God would blind people's eyes.
Talking of a hard concept, look at verse 41.
Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him.
Probably speaking of Jesus, the glory of Jesus, Isaiah 6. I'll let you study that on your own, though.
Nevertheless, many even of the authorities believed in him, but for fear of the Pharisees they did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue. For they loved the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from God.
And Jesus cried out and said, whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come into the world as light, so that whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness. If anyone hears my words and does not keep them, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. The one who rejects me and does not receive my words has a judge. The word that I have spoken will judge him on that last day. For I have not spoken of my own authority, but the Father who has sent me has himself given me a commandment, what to say and what to speak. And I know that his commandment is eternal life. What I say, therefore, I say as the Father has told me. And those are the last public words of Jesus before he will spend some time in 13 through 17 with his disciples, eventually in chapter 18 to be betrayed, handed over to Pilate, some various trials, crucified, dead, buried, and risen in chapter 20. So that is the end of the public mystery of Jesus.
Right. And that last section there, 44 through 50, is kind of, I have written in my Bible that it's a summary or a finale, and then several themes going on there, like believe and follow and obey and hear.
That's in contrast to the overture of chapters 1 through 18.
Right.
Yep. All right, great. All right, we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.